October 7 dawned as a bittersweet milestone for Vladimir Putin, the iron-fisted ruler turning 73 amid whispers of fading glory. Imagine the opulent Kremlin halls filled with the scent of freshly baked cake, slicing through the air like a fleeting moment of normalcy, only for three loyal tasters to gingerly sample at first, the bitter tang of poison paranoia clinging to every forkful. Yet, the tyrant craved a grand gift, something to reignite his empire's flicker of invincibility. Ukraine defied all odds, unleashing a ferocious birthday bombshell through relentless, deep-penetrating drone barrages. How far would this defiant nation push Putin's fortress? Shockingly, Ukrainian drones pierced 2,000 kilometers into Russia's heartland, a distance once unimaginable, mocking the Tsar's vaunted defenses. This isn't just warfare, it's a symphony of unexpected strikes, each one a humiliating reminder that Ukraine's grit outpaces Russia's iron grip. What explosive surprises await in the shadows of this turning point? As the sun dipped low on October 6, setting the stage for Putin's fateful 73rd, Ukraine's resolve blazed brighter than ever. Their long-range winged assailants soared through the night skies, dodging Russian sentinels like phantoms in the dark. The Kiev Post chronicled this audacious overnight onslaught targeting Tuman, a distant Russian stronghold some 2,000 kilometers, or roughly 1,240 miles, from Ukraine's frontier. Putin, launching his invasion when he was in his late 60s, never dreamed Ukraine could reach such depths. Back then, no Ukrainian arm could venture that far, let alone strike true. But time's wheel has turned, arming Ukraine with formidable arsenals for the task. Drones became Putin's gift, deployed with precision across Russia's expanse, their hum echoing like distant thunder. In Tuman, the focal point was a vast oil refinery, the Moscow Times pegging its output at 9 million tons of crude yearly. That black gold fuels Russia's military machines and lines war chests, suppling diesel's sharp bite and gasoline's roar to sustain Putin's relentless campaign. Did the strike succeed, or did Russia's deceptions weave a different tale? Russia spun tales of total triumph, eager to hoodwink the globe. Their telegraph dispatches proclaimed Tuman's air barriers obliterated every intruder, safeguarding the refinery unscathed. 3 unmanned aerial vehicles detected and dismantled near a firm in Antipino microdistrict. According to the Tuman Oblast government's broadcasts, emergency brigades swarmed, halting detonations, no wounds, no blasts, no blazes, all operations churning as usual. So, victory snatched from the jaws of chaos? But doubts crept in like a chill wind through cracks. Kiev Post unearthed resident accounts of twin explosions rumbling near the refinery, their earth-shaking thuds reverberating through Tuman's streets. Could they stem from Russia's anti-air volleys, or hint at something dire? Strangely, officials affirmed zero blasts, yet echoes persist. Why the contradiction? Russia would gladly boast of downed drones' payloads erupting in fiery spectacle, but silence, combined with fleeting mobile and internet blackouts plaguing locals post-attack, screamed cover-up. The Financial Times revealed this pattern, shutdowns crippling connections in drone-hit zones to stifle shared truths, disabling even cash registers and transport validations amid over 2,000 data disruptions in summer months. Those digital voids veiled ominous truths, their eerie hush amplifying suspicions. Did Ukraine breach Tuman's refinery? A voice emerged to challenge Russia's charade. Andrei Kovalenko, head of Ukraine's counter-disinformation hub, telegrammed bluntly that the Antipino complex fared poorly, its 9 million-ton capacity crippled. No smoking gun proof, but the admission whetted appetites for deeper disclosures. Then, Axel Inover's channel unveiled haunting visuals, purporting aftermaths at the refinery's gates, warped structures bearing silent witness to potential devastation. Even partial penetration humiliates Putin's regime, exposing vulnerabilities in his 2,000-kilometer bastion. Did Ukraine's drones truly elude defenses, inflicting unseen wounds? Whispers of sabotage intensify, forcing Russia to scramble in denial. Amid 2 months' turmoil, Ukraine broadened its assault, firing over 200 drones across Russia's sprawl. 30 targeted Nizhny Novgorod, east of Moscow, Governor Gleb Nikitin claiming most felled over Dzerzhinsk's industrial hub. Debris rained harmlessly, he insisted, no disruption to factories. Yet Ukraine countered. A prior October 6 foray nailed the YMZ Sverdlov explosives plant there, high-grade RDX and HMX vital to Russia's armory. The follow-up aimed annihilation. Bitter contradiction bloomed. Russia touted failure, Ukraine heralded ruin. As if scripted. The narrative twisted with stakes rising to catastrophic levels. Drones swarmed Voronezh southeastward, Governor Alexander Gusev hailing interception of 17 foes, mere shards shattering heating plant panes. But Rosatom, Russia's nuclear custodian, amplified the drama, alleging a near miss on Novgorod's cooling tower, drones thwarted electronically, one kamikazing the structure. Lies or reality? Rosatom painted Ukraine as nuclear terrorists, echoing past claims on Kursk and Smolensk. Heated clashes in claims, Duzev's benign windows versus Rosatom's chilling close call. Was this a propaganda pivot, deflecting mundane damage into apocalyptic threats? The air thickens with deceit, Russia's crumbling facade exposed as Ukraine's ingenuity humiliates the authoritarian giant. Beneath the hubbub, a startling revelation simmers. What if more targets crumbled in silence? As probes deepen, undeniable evidence surfaces, shattering Putin's smug facade. Will the world's eyes finally see the cracks in his empire, or will shadows conceal the full extent of Ukraine's audacious flurry? The battlefield evolves, and fate's pendulum swings unpredictably. On October 7, a remarkable event unfolded that left many questioning the narrative. It was Vladimir Putin's birthday, a time typically celebrated with grandeur, yet the atmosphere was abuzz with tension. Ukraine, seeking to send a powerful message, decided to gift an explosive surprise. As Putin prepared for his birthday festivities, he would never have anticipated the chaos set to ensue from 2,000 kilometers away. Reports flooded in about Ukraine's audacious drone strikes, targeting the city of Tuman far beyond what anyone thought possible. Just a few years prior, Ukraine had no such capability. But now, armed with formidable long-range drones, their intent was clear: to disrupt and disorient the Russian regime. The main target? An oil refinery crucial for supplying fuels to sustain the war machine. In a telegram post, officials in Tuman claimed air defenses thwarted the assault. They asserted that all drones were neutralized before reaching their targets, showcasing images of emergency services purportedly averting disaster. But did these claims hold up under scrutiny? Why did residents recount the sounds of explosions when authorities firmly denied them? As the dust settled, the contradictions only deepened. Reports from locals contradicted the official story. Could it be that something more sinister happened that night, a direct hit on the refinery? If Ukraine was indeed thwarted, why would there be whispers of explosions echoing through the night? The situation only intensified as residents experienced disruptions to their mobile and internet services. A tactic often employed to obstruct communication in times of crisis. Was Russia attempting to bury the truth, painting a flawless picture of their defense while concealing potential damage? Speculation ran rampant, igniting debates about what truly transpired in Tuman on that fateful night. The silence enforced on communications hinted at something more significant than a mere failed strike. In yet another twist, the head of Ukraine's counter-disinformation center, Andrew Kovalenko, shared a grave message about the refinery. His words seemed to suggest a troubling outcome for Putin's prized asset. Could Ukraine have indeed hit its mark, more successfully than Russia wanted the world to believe? Visual evidence started to circulate, claiming to showcase the aftermath of an explosion at the refinery. The narrative was shrouded in ambiguity, but one thing was certain: Ukraine's attempt to shake Russia's foundations was far from over. There would be more drone strikes, a relentless campaign threatening to unravel the lie cloaked in smoke and mirrors. Each attempt by Ukraine was more than just an act of defiance, it was a declaration of power, echoing through the walls of the Kremlin. What would be the ultimate outcome of Ukraine's relentless assault amidst Russia's denials? The next chapters promise to unfold more secrets hidden within the shadow of war. On October 7, amidst the celebrations of Vladimir Putin's 73rd birthday in the Kremlin, something unprecedented was unfolding across the border. Ukraine prepared an explosive surprise that Putin never saw coming. As laughter filled the air from the birthday festivities, Ukraine unleashed a calculated assault, launching waves of drones into Russian territory, targeting key infrastructures as a not-so-gentle reminder of its might. In an astonishing twist of fate, Ukraine struck deep into Russia around 2,000 kilometers from its border, focusing on an oil refinery in Tuman, a city that had appeared to be beyond reach until now. Just a few years ago, Ukraine lacked the arsenal to achieve such long-distance operations, but a powerful transformation had taken place since Putin first invaded. Reports indicated that the drone blitz unfolded overnight, but did it achieve its goal? Curiously, the local government in Tuman insisted that Ukrainian drones had been intercepted without causing any explosions. However, as residents recounted hearing two deafening blasts, the official narrative seemed to crumble. Why did the government deny these reports when the citizens' accounts painted a different picture?
something wasn't adding up. In the wake of the strike, reality twisted further. Several Tuman residents experienced disruptions in their mobile and internet services. This was no isolated incident, rather, it mirrored a familiar tactic that Russia employed following Ukrainian incursions, ensuring that information, particularly images and videos, remained contained. Could these outages hint at a significant event that the Russian authorities desperately wished to conceal? Andrew Kovalenko, the head of Ukraine's counter-disinformation center, hinted that the refinery in Tuman had indeed faced dire consequences. Things have gotten bad for the Tuman refinery, he declared, suggesting that the birthday present to Putin wasn't just a slice of cake, but a striking blow to one of Russia's crucial resources. As the narrative unfolds, could it be possible that Ukraine's mission was more successful than anyone dared to admit? With each passing hour, as reports laced with contradiction and emergent truths surface, one must wonder what is really happening behind the curtain of media and propaganda. In the shadows of the Kremlin's festivities, did Ukraine deliver a damaging strike on Russian soil that could tip the scales in this ongoing conflict? An unanticipated climax lay ahead. What exactly happened at that oil refinery? The truth may be buried beneath layers of misinformation, waiting for the right moment to resurface. In the wake of the audacious drone strikes on October 7, Andrew Kovalenko, the head of Ukraine's counter-disinformation center, took to social media to share a startling insight. He claimed the situation for Tuman's oil refinery has taken a dire turn. With a staggering capacity of 9 million tons of crude oil annually, this facility has become a critical target for Ukraine. But did Ukraine's drones actually breach Tuman's defenses on that fateful night? Although there's no definitive proof that they hit their target, Kovalenko's ominous message hints at a more successful operation than Russia would like to admit. Adding to the intrigue, an image circulated on the Yexel and Over Plus Telegram channel claimed to show the aftermath of an explosion at the refinery. While the image reveals what seems to be damage, the extent remains ambiguous. Did one of Ukraine's drones successfully strike? As the dust settles, we're left yearning for clarity on what transpired in Tuman. The aerial strike that captured headlines was merely the beginning. Reports indicate that Ukraine unleashed over 200 drones on October 7 alone, with at least 30 aimed at the Nizhny Novgorod region, situated east of Moscow. The governor of that area, Gleb Nikitin, asserts that most of these drones were neutralized before any substantial damage could occur, merely causing debris to scatter across one industrial site. Yet, Ukraine has a different narrative. While the assault on Zinsk failed to yield success, an earlier mission just a day prior did not miss its mark. On October 6, Ukraine's military proudly announced they had struck a significant target, the Sverdlov explosives factory, a facility crucial for producing high explosives used in many of Russia's armaments. This prior success seems to set the stage for the events that unfolded the next day, leading to a focus on finishing off what had been left standing. So, could it be that even in failure, Ukraine's strategy was meticulously designed to disrupt Russia's military capabilities? As we connect the dots between these strikes, we must ponder, what exactly did Ukraine achieve amidst these missile volleys? The mystery deepens as more details emerge, leaving us questioning the strength and resilience of Russia's defenses against such aerial onslaughts. What is the truth hidden behind the veil of propaganda? Only time will reveal the real impact of October's audacious skies. As October 7 unfolded, the Kremlin brimmed with festivity, celebrating a remarkable milestone in the formidable life of Vladimir Putin. But far from the lavish festivities, a chilling surprise awaited the Russian leader, crafted by none other than Ukraine. Just as Putin prepared to savor his cake, Ukraine launched an extraordinary drone offensive that would send shockwaves through Russia, marking his 73rd birthday with a brutal reminder of the ongoing conflict. On the day prior, a targeted strike on the Sverdlov explosives factory in Zinsk was reported by Ukraine's military officials. This facility, known for producing high explosives critical to Russia's arsenal, became a target aimed at crippling its war machinery. The next day, Ukraine sought to ensure that remnants of this factory would not linger. The attack on October 7, though less successful, was a bold follow-up against a backdrop of increasingly audacious military tactics. While Russia claimed to have neutralized countless drones, the reality told a different story. Reports surfaced from Voronezh, where significant damage reportedly occurred. Local governors maintained that air defenses successfully intercepted 17 incoming Ukrainian drones, but fragments still managed to shatter windows at a heating plant, leaving a trail of uncertainty. Was the claim of no actual damage merely a facade? Yet, what truly escalated the situation was the assertion by Rosenergoatom, Russia's state nuclear oversight body. They alleged that Ukrainian drones had targeted a crucial cooling tower of the Novovoronezh nuclear power plant. This incendiary claim was quickly labeled as a potential propaganda stunt aimed at rebranding Ukraine's military operations as terror tactics. The absurdity grew while one official downplayed the danger, another invoked the specter of nuclear catastrophe. Was this merely a diversion from the grim reality facing Russia's military? Amidst the static of official declarations, eyewitness accounts from Zinsk stirred doubt. Locals recounted hearing ominous booms that contradicted official statements claiming no explosions occurred. With internet connectivity mysteriously disrupted post-strike, speculation burgeoned. Could the blackout be a cover-up, designed to stifle the truth of what transpired? The narrative twisted, revealing an atmosphere thick with tension and uncertainty. Questions permeated the air. Were Ukraine's drones more dangerous than Russia admitted? Were they actually able to strike their targets deeper within enemy territory? The veracity of the Russian government's assertions hung by a thread, challenged by fierce claims of success from Ukraine's military. As the situation unfolded, it became clear that beneath the surface of celebration in the Kremlin, a battle of narratives was raging. The drone strikes were about more than military might, they were a stark reminder of the stakes involved. With each passing moment, the clash of truths intensified. Was Ukraine really capable of shifting the battlefield's balance, or was Russia flexing its muscles to maintain control over the escalating crisis? The aftermath of what occurred on that fateful October 7th night would keep both sides on edge, trapped in a web of uncertainty and fear. Imagine a scene of grandeur in the Kremlin, where the air is thick with anticipation. It's October 7th, a date etched in history as Vladimir Putin's birthday. As cake is served, it isn't just the sweet taste of celebration that lingers, there's an undercurrent of anxiety. In a twist of fate, Ukraine decides to deliver a shocking surprise, an audacious drone strike that would send ripples through the heart of Russia. On this fateful night, Ukraine unleashed a wave of drones, striking targets as far as 1,240 miles from its borders. The city of Tuman, an unexpected venue for such a confrontation, found itself caught in the crosshairs, housing an oil refinery critical to Russia's war efforts. The very ground trembled as local residents reported hearing explosions, planting seeds of doubt in the official narrative. No damage, they claimed, yet whispers of blasts echoed through the night. Could the drones really have penetrated such deep defenses? As chaos unfurled, the Russian government hastily declared their air defenses effective, claiming to have thwarted every incoming drone. Yet, the truth maintained a shadowy presence, lurking just beneath the surface. Tuman's regional officials boasted of their victory, but did they truly silence all threats? The citizens sang a different tune, with many asserting they heard those ominous booms, casting doubt on the sanitized version of events. More mysteries surfaced as connectivity seemed to vanish, with mobile data outages reported in the wake of the attacks. Was this mere coincidence? Or a deliberate Russian effort to stifle the truth about a potential hit on their oil facilities? The hushed suppression of information hinted at something more sinister at play. Was Ukraine's strike more successful than Russia was willing to admit? The turmoil didn't stop there. Moving to Belgorod, the stakes heightened. Ukraine allegedly launched further attacks, plunging 1,000 residents into darkness. The governor highlighted deaths resulting from a recent strike, framing these narratives within the tapestry of conflict. How could one side claim victory while the other mourned losses? Doubts loomed large as the reliability of reports became suspect. All the while, Ukraine's barrage continued. In a matter of hours, hundreds of drones soared toward Russia, unyielded. The Kremlin's response showcased the tension, asserting interception of dozens of these projectiles, yet they were left grappling with the fallout. How could a single night witness the deployment of over 250 drones, intensifying the dance of conflict? With each strike, the fabric of this escalating war frayed further. Who was truly winning, and what lay hidden behind the curtain of relentless propaganda? As we dig deeper into this unfolding drama, it appears that the real tale may be more explosive than any drone strike might suggest. What revelations await as the dust settles on this chaotic chapter? The confrontation between Ukraine and Russia promises to leave lasting scars, both seen and unseen. On October 6 and 7, Ukraine launched an unprecedented drone assault against Russia, a bold move that left the Kremlin reeling. As Vladimir Putin celebrated his birthday, a fierce wave of at least 460 drones threatened to upend his grand festivities. Imagine the tension in the air as the Kremlin prepared for cake, only to be met with harrowing alerts of incoming attacks that left the Russian Defense Ministry scrambling to respond. Reports suggest that Russia claimed to have intercepted these drones, with a staggering number supposedly shot down across various locations, including Crimea and even Moscow. Yet, amidst the chaos, the very fabric of Russia's military credibility began to unravel. Did every drone truly get intercepted, or were some slipping through the cracks, landing where they were least expected? Eyewitness accounts hinted at explosions near a key oil refinery in Tuman, a city thousands of kilometers away from Ukraine's borders, raising flags about the true effectiveness of Russia's air defenses. As the dust settled on October 7, the implications of the drone strikes painted a grim picture for the Russian leader. Ukraine's strategic focus was unyielding: to cripple Russia's oil infrastructure, vital to sustaining its military campaign. With an impressive range and accuracy previously unthinkable, Ukraine's long-range drones were now dispatching deadly presence right to the heart of Russia's refining assets. How serious was the damage? Rumors circulated that the refinery in Tuman, one of the largest in Russia, might have sustained hits, a potential disaster for Moscow. This uptick in drone warfare has proven significant. As of late September, Ukraine had managed to disrupt over one-third of Russia's refining capabilities, an astounding statistic that reflects a large-scale shift in the balance of power in this ongoing conflict. Could it be that Russia's response was effective in the short term, but the truth of the situation was much darker and more chaotic than publicly admitted? Whispers of technology failures and internet outages following the drone strikes fed into this narrative, hinting at deeper troubles within Russia. Public communications were stifled, making it difficult for the truth to emerge amidst the fog of governmental claims. Was this merely a smokescreen to cover the reality that Ukraine was indeed landing devastating blows right on Putin's doorstep? As we continue to piece together the events surrounding this audacious two-day strike, one thing becomes increasingly clear: with every drone that crossed into Russian territory, the stakes became higher. For Putin, what began as a day of personal celebration morphed into one marked by strategic embarrassment. The shadows of uncertainty loomed large, and Ukraine's resolve was unmistakable, leaving many to wonder, what would the Kremlin's next move be in this ongoing chess game of attrition? October 7th was a day like no other for Vladimir Putin. As he turned 73, the atmosphere in the Kremlin was charged with celebration. Yet, amid the festivities, an unexpected birthday surprise was about to unfold, one that would surely shake the very foundations of his power. On this fateful day, Ukraine unleashed a wave of drone attacks that would leave even the most hardened authorities stunned. With precision and audacity, Ukrainian forces sent their drones across the border, reaching as far as 2,000 kilometers into Russian territory, targeting critical facilities. The primary focus? The city of Tuman, a place Putin would have never imagined could be a target during his birthday. Meanwhile, Ukraine's capability to strike deep within enemy lines marked a game-changing moment since the early days of the conflict, when such distance seemed impossible. As the sun dipped below the horizon, signifying the end of the day, chaos erupted in Tuman. Witnesses reported hearing loud explosions, even as Russian officials asserted their air defenses had successfully neutralized the threats, claiming no breach had occurred at the oil refinery targeted by Ukraine. Were these conflicting accounts a sign of a cover-up? Residents knew what they heard. Explosions rang out, yet the official narrative insisted on a calm facade. The very air in Tuman was thick with tension and uncertainty. While authorities triumphantly declared that no significant damage was done, rumors began to swirl. Could the Ukrainian strike have been more effective than Russia would admit? The situation intensified with reports of disrupted internet and mobile services, a hallmark of Russia's response to drone strikes. By cutting off communications, authorities seemed determined to prevent the truth from seeping out, a tactic indicative of deeper problems within the country. Why would they shield the population from the reality of what was happening right outside their doors? Andrew Kovalenko, head of Ukraine's Counter-Disinformation Center, didn't mince words. He hinted at severe damage to the Tuman refinery, citing its output capacity as a critical asset for Russia's military efforts. Could it be that Ukraine had successfully delivered a blow on Putin's birthday that would cripple Russia's oil supply? The intensity of Ukraine's operations didn't end with Tuman. Additional drone deployments aimed to wreak havoc elsewhere, exposing another layer of weakness in Russia's defenses. With targets littered across the country, including a significant factory in Zinsk, the tale grew even more convoluted. While local officials declared success against drones, Ukrainian reports painted a starkly different picture, claiming effective hits on vital explosive-producing facilities. The plot thickened as reports of damaged infrastructure emerged. An attack that seemingly gathered dust in Russian narratives suddenly turned into a complex web of competing truths. If one story claimed minimal damage, how could another hint at a near disaster at a nuclear facility? In the face of unfolding chaos, evidence began to mount that Ukrainian drones weren't merely nuisances, they were symbols of resistance and power. The conflict was shifting dynamics. No longer was it confined to Ukrainian territory, but now it threatened the very heart of Russian resources and morale. As the hours passed and the dust settled, one thing was clear: the consequences of these drone strikes were more profound than a mere birthday surprise. The implications reverberated across the battlefield and beyond, raising one unsettling question: how much longer could Russia sustain this relentless pressure? The stakes had never been higher, nor had the narrative become so blurred, as both sides navigated the faint line between victory and devastation in a war that showed no signs of ending. On October 7, a day marked by celebration and chaos, Vladimir Putin found himself at the center of a whirlwind of unexpected events. As he celebrated his 73rd birthday, the Kremlin buzzed with anticipation, with lavish cakes and festivities underway. But little did Putin know that the true gift awaited him in the skies above, a shocking reminder of Ukraine's resilience. That night, Ukraine unleashed a wave of drone strikes aimed deep into Russian territory, targeting oil refineries that played a crucial role in sustaining Putin's war machine. Reports indicated that these drones penetrated about 2,000 kilometers deep into Russia, with the boldest strike hitting Tyumen, a city far from the front line. The audacity of such an attack showcased Ukraine's remarkable evolution. Just a few years prior, it lacked weapons capable of such extensive reach. While Russia claimed air defenses thwarted the drones, a different narrative emerged from the residents of Tyumen. They reported hearing explosions, contradicting official statements that no damage occurred. This disconnect raised many questions. What truly happened that night, and why did Russia shut down communications in the region so soon after the strikes? Could it be a strategic move to suppress any revelations of damage? Adding to the intrigue, the head of Ukraine's counter-disinformation center hinted at potential fallout for Tyumen's oil refinery, suggesting that the birthday surprises for Putin were far more explosive than Russia would admit. Pictures circulated showing the aftermath of what appeared to be significant damage, raising speculation about the effectiveness of the drone assault. As the dust settled, further reports emerged about the repercussions of Ukraine's sustained attacks. Many of Russia's oil producers began diverting crude oil exports elsewhere, unable to process the output due to ongoing strikes. Data analysts noted that since August, 9 major Russian refineries struggled to maintain operations, with estimates predicting the loss of up to 500,000 barrels per day. The implications were dire for Russia's economy. Less crude oil meant fewer resources for refining and potential supply chain setbacks for producers who had shifted their focus overseas. The escalating strikes sent a clear message to Putin: Ukraine would not relent, and its capabilities were only growing. In the days surrounding Putin's birthday, he faced an avalanche of pressure, with soaring numbers of drone activities suggesting Ukraine's resolve to strike harder and more effectively. On October 2, reports surfaced about the U.S. pledging to provide Ukraine with critical intelligence to bolster long-range strikes. As tension mounted, Putin's celebratory mood dimmed amidst brewing challenges at home, and his adversaries became bolder. What started as a day of joy morphed into a stark reminder of the unpredictability of conflict and the resilience of those fighting against his regime. Could a birthday celebration turn into the alarming beginning of a strategic shift in warfare? The answer seemed to emerge painfully clear from the ashes of that fateful night. On October 7, a date that should have been a celebration for Vladimir Putin, turned into a harrowing ordeal. Picture the Grand Hall of the Kremlin, adorned in festive decorations, where laughter mingled with the sweet scent of a birthday cake. Yet, unbeknownst to the guests, a far more sinister surprise awaited the birthday boy. As Putin blew out the candles on his cake, he could only hope for peace, but instead received a devastating present from Ukraine. Throughout the night, Ukraine unleashed a barrage of long-range drone strikes, launching a calculated assault that penetrated an astonishing 2,000 kilometers into Russian territory, with Tyumen as the central target. Could anyone have imagined that such a bold act would unfold on a day of personal celebration? In previous years, Ukraine struggled to reach beyond its borders, but the times have changed dramatically. Modern advancements and strategic alliances have equipped Ukraine with the capability to strike deep. The reported target was an oil refinery in Tuman, vital for producing diesel and gasoline needed to support Russia's military operations. As the dawn approached, tension filled the air. Had Ukraine successfully struck a blow where it counts? However, the Russian government's narrative quickly emerged, asserting that air defenses neutralized the threat and no damage occurred. But did they? Eyewitness accounts tell a different story. Residents of Tuman reported hearing explosions, contradicting the official stance that declared everything under control. With the sharp whine of fighter jets echoing above and emergency crews racing through the streets, unease gripped the city. Meanwhile, the aftermath of the strikes revealed complications for mobile and internet services, a common tactic employed by Russia to suppress communications in affected areas. Why the sudden blackout in Tuman, if nothing truly happened? This raises a chilling question: was the Kremlin hiding something more significant than a mere failed assault? In the midst of the chaos, Ukrainian counter-disinformation chief Andrew Kovalenko hinted at troubling news for Tuman's refinery. While not definitive proof of a strike, it suggested that Ukraine's actions may have indeed struck deeper, landing a successful hit cloaked in mystery. The unfolding situation felt reminiscent of an intricate chess game, with each side grappling for the upper hand amid a swirl of disinformation. But the violent ballet of drones did not end there. Simultaneously, on October 7, Ukraine unleashed over 200 drones across various regions, with one targeted attack on the Nizhny Novgorod area near Moscow. Russian officials, keen to present a facade of control, claimed to have intercepted the majority. Yet, could it truly be that they emerged unscathed from an operation that sent waves of fear through their ranks? Moreover, reports surfaced of a failed strike on a nuclear power plant, further muddying the waters of accountability. As the enemy's eyes turned to the skies, a grim realization began to emerge. Russian narratives seemed increasingly desperate, attempting to reframe the real threat posed by Ukraine. With each passing moment, the scope of this conflict became clearer, revealing an escalating battle that was fueled by new intelligence and technology. The West's role seemed set to intensify further, providing Ukraine with tools to strike deeper and harder. As tensions simmered and lines blurred, one final question lingered: what will be the next move in this high-stakes game that could change the landscape for both nations? Prepare yourself, for things are only going to intensify from here. On October 7, a remarkable day unfolded in the heart of Russia. It marked the 73rd birthday of none other than Vladimir Putin. As the Kremlin buzzed with celebration, a sense of foreboding lingered in the air. Unknown to the birthday boy, a surprise awaited him, a poignant gift from Ukraine that would shake the foundations of his expectations. As candles flickered on a lavish cake, a much darker spectacle unfolded across the border. Ukraine had prepared an audacious display of power, launching a barrage of long-range drone strikes deep into Russian territory, reaching a staggering 2,000 kilometers. The targeted city? Tuman. A bold move that none could have anticipated, particularly from a nation that only a few years prior had no means to strike this far. In Tuman, a vital oil refinery, capable of processing a staggering 9 million tons of crude oil annually, would soon find itself in the crosshairs. In a report from the Kiev Post, the scene was set for an unprecedented showdown. However, as drones soared through the sky, their fate hung in the balance. The Russian government hastened to insist that its air defenses neutralized every incoming threat, declaring the city unscathed. But conflicting reports emerged, with residents claiming to have heard a pair of ominous explosions near the refinery, a contradiction that raised eyebrows. Were those merely the disoriented echoes of drones meeting their doom, or was there a hidden truth lurking beneath the surface? Did the air defenses truly succeed, or had Ukraine struck a telling blow while keeping the world in the dark? As Russian authorities attempted to maintain a tight grip on the narrative, communication disruptions in Tuman hinted at something more sinister. With mobile connections faltering and power grids flickering, whispers of dissent echoed among the people. What were they being kept from witnessing? Andrew Kovalenko, head of Ukraine's counter-disinformation efforts, pointed to troubling signs for the refinery. Things have gotten bad for Tuman's refinery, he declared, hinting at a reality that the Kremlin would rather suppress. Meanwhile, visual evidence circulating on Telegram suggested that damage had indeed been inflicted. Whispers grew louder: could Ukraine's strike have successfully bypassed the defenses and hit its mark? But Tuman was not the only battleground on this fateful day. The Moscow Times reported that Ukraine launched an astounding 200 drones across Russia, yet many were reportedly intercepted.
In the Nizhny Novgorod region, claims emerged of no significant damage. Yet, amid the turmoil, Ukraine's strategic maneuvers continued, suggesting resolve in the face of aggression.
Did the attack on Tuman herald a new age of conflict, one where drone warfare transcended borders?
As the echoes of explosions faded into the night, unanswered questions loomed larger than the smoke in the air.
How would Russia respond to this bold incursion with its vast manpower still on the line?
The stage was set for a clash of wills as both nations braced for the fallout, a countdown to a new chapter in their tumultuous saga.
In this high-stakes game of power and retribution, could the tide shift dramatically in the days to come?
One thing was certain, the world was watching closely as Ukraine pushed the boundaries of its might, leaving all to wonder, how far will they go? A striking wave of desertions has swept through the Russian military since the outset of the Ukraine conflict.
Once a marginal issue, desertions are now skyrocketing, revealing cracks in the resolve of the Kremlin's forces.
A recent chart shared by United 24 illustrates this troubling trend. While the problem existed early on, it poses a significant challenge now as soldiers flee the oppressive grip of war. The data paints a stark picture. Desertions were nearly non-existent in 2022, with a slight uptick at the year's end. However, by January 2024, those rates climbed to around 100 per month. The real shock comes by early 2025, where monthly desertions ballooned to over 500. That's a staggering fivefold increase from early 2024, screaming one undeniable truth: the brutality of the war has become unbearable for the men sent to fight.
Insights from the Agunstvo Novosti Telegram channel further dissect this issue.
They shared the aforementioned chart, detailing how this data was meticulously gathered. Analysts from Front Intelligence Insight meticulously combed through tens of thousands of personal records of Russian military personnel, using information acquired from the Ukrainian initiative I Want to Live, along with confidential paperwork from various Russian military divisions, including the 2nd Motorized Rifle Division, and the notorious 1st Tank Army. I Want to Live is that beacon of hope for Russian soldiers. Launched in September 2022, it offers a lifeline to those contemplating desertion or surrender. Through a phone, website, or messenger apps, disillusioned soldiers can reach out and arrange to give themselves up to Ukrainian forces. By January 2023, thousands had sought refuge through this remarkable program, even though many would tragically perish before reaching safety. Despite the risks, this initiative reveals a burgeoning desire among Russian troops to escape their grim reality, an urge that has only intensified since its inception. As the war drags on, these numbers hint at a deeper unrest brewing within the ranks, foreshadowing potentially significant shifts in the conflict's dynamics ahead. In a striking twist of fate, October 7 marks a significant day for the Russian leader, Vladimir Putin, as it is his birthday. Picture the celebratory atmosphere in the Kremlin, where the cake is cut, but not before being tasted by select individuals to check for poison. Putin, turning 73, likely yearned for a special gift on this day. However, Ukraine had a surprise that would shake his foundation: a series of long-range drone strikes that sent a clear and explosive message. Imagine the shock in Putin's eyes as Ukraine launched a relentless assault, hitting targets over 1,200 miles inside Russian territory. The intended target? The oil-rich city of Tuman, far beyond what Putin thought possible when invading Ukraine. Not too long ago, Ukraine was unable to strike such distances, but now, they wield multiple weapons capable of reaching their mark. This time, drones carried the explosive birthday gifts. Reports indicate multiple drones targeted an oil refinery in Tuman, a facility responsible for processing millions of tons of crude oil annually, crucial for fueling the ongoing conflict. But how effective was Ukraine's surprise attack? Russia quickly attempted to downplay the incident, claiming its air defenses thwarted every drone aimed at Tuman. The Tuman Oblast government boasted of neutralizing 3 drones. Yet, whispers of explosions from local residents cast doubt on the official narrative. Did the drones hit their target, and Russia was merely trying to save face? As people shared tales of hearing 2 separate explosions, the inconsistencies began to surface. The government's claim of no explosions contradicted witnesses, raising suspicion about the true events that occurred on that fateful night. Further complicating matters, residents reported brief internet outages in the wake of the strikes, a tactic Russia commonly employs to suppress communication in affected areas and stifle real-time reporting.
Could it be that the internet shutdown was masking a darker reality, one where Ukraine's drone successfully struck Tuman's refinery?
Andrew Kovalenko, Ukraine's counter-disinformation chief, suggested that something went terribly wrong for the refinery, though confirmations remain elusive. Meanwhile, imagery circulated online showing a purported explosion at the facility, igniting debates over its authenticity.
Did Ukraine manage to deliver a significant blow to Russian infrastructure?
The surge of drone strikes didn't end with Tuman. On the same day, Ukraine deployed over 200 drones targeting additional locations, with a significant focus on the Nizhny Novgorod region. Officials claimed that successful interceptions neutralized most threats, but accounts from Ukraine reveal a different story altogether, suggesting prior strikes managed to damage key Russian military assets. As reports swirled in the fog of war, what was the truth behind these drone strikes? Were they pure propaganda, or did they expose crippling weaknesses in Russian defenses? In this smoke-filled land of uncertainty, the air crackled with tension, leaving one undeniable question: how far will Ukraine go to disrupt the ambitions of its adversary on such a momentous day? On October 7, a day meant for celebration, Vladimir Putin found himself unwrapped in unthinkable chaos. As he celebrated his 73rd birthday within the Kremlin, little did he know that Ukraine had crafted an explosive surprise, a series of audacious drone strikes aimed at Russian soil. Ukraine's gift wasn't just a fleeting gesture, it spanned a staggering 2,000 kilometers into enemy territory, targeting the city of Tuman, far away from the Ukrainian front lines. Imagine the tension in Tuman that night, as reports flooded in, painting a picture of chaos and attempted destruction. Ukraine's drones, unleashed like powerful birds of prey, descended upon key installations, including an oil refinery. This facility was crucial, processing nearly 9 million tons of crude oil annually. Its disruption could shake the very foundations that sustain Putin's war efforts.
But was it all smoke and mirrors?
The Russian government quickly moved to dismiss the magnitude of the strike, claiming their air defenses had neutralized every incoming threat. Yet, Tuman's residents began to whisper among themselves, recounting the eerie sound of explosions, a stark contrast to official denials.
What were they hearing? Did the drones truly fail, or had they struck decisive blows that Russia was desperate to conceal?
In the days that followed, reports of mobile and internet outages swirled through the city, reminiscent of earlier tactics employed by Russia to stifle communication in the wake of drone attacks.
Was this merely a coincidence? Or was it clear evidence of something significant being hidden from the world?
In the fog of propaganda, one voice cut through the noise. Andrew Kovalenko, head of Ukraine's counter-disinformation center, declared that the Tuman refinery was facing dire consequences. Pictures circulated on various channels, hinting at exploded remains in Tuman, suggesting Ukraine may have successfully landed blows.
However, questions lingered. If one drone had indeed penetrated defenses, what had transpired across Russia that day?
As information continued to trickle in, it became evident that Ukraine's birthday gift to Putin included a series of focused attacks targeting other regions, as over 200 drones were deployed that fateful day. The striking signature of Ukraine's military operations unveiled a narrative fraught with contradictions and uncertainties.
What did this mean for Russia?
Amid conflicting claims of thwarted attacks in regions like Nizhny Novgorod and Voronezh, the reality remained murky. Some drones were said to have been intercepted without causing damage, yet other reports hinted at near misses that could have had dire consequences, like potential strikes aimed at nuclear facilities.
In a chaotic fog of war, narratives shifted as quickly as the tides.
Clearly, the reality was more complex than either side cared to admit. As the dust settled, we are left with more questions than answers.
Did Ukraine manage to successfully strike its targets? Or was this all a mere facade, a veil to cover a reality they wished to conceal? With the clock ticking and tensions mounting, one thing remains certain: the battlefield is a stage of ongoing drama.
And the world waits with bated breath for clarity amidst the confusion.
On a pivotal day in Russian history, October 7 brings a moment that's as symbolic as it is dramatic: the birthday of Vladimir Putin.
Imagine the lavish spread in the Kremlin, candles flickering, as the first slice of cake is cut.
Yet, there lurks an ominous shadow over this celebration, a birthday surprise that no one saw coming.
Ukraine had a shocking gift ready, launching a series of unprecedented drone strikes deep into Russian territory, eagerly unveiling its power as Putin marks his 73rd year. The audacious attack began on the night of October 7, targeting Tuman, a city located approximately 2,000 kilometers from the Ukrainian border.
This was a place Putin had likely believed to be safely beyond Ukraine's reach when he embarked on his controversial invasion. Just a few years prior, Ukraine had no means to strike so far into Russian territory, yet now, a dramatic transformation had taken place. Equipped with advanced weaponry, Ukraine was no longer the underdog. In the chaos of the strike, reports emerged of damage at an oil refinery capable of processing millions of tons of crude oil each year, vital to fueling Russia's war machine. While Russian officials claim they shot down the drones, Tuman residents tell a different story, one filled with the sounds of explosions that authorities insist never happened. What could be causing this discrepancy? The air was thick with tension, confusion, and growing defiance. Further complicating matters, many in Tuman experienced mysterious outages of phone and internet service immediately following the attacks. This was no coincidence. Such shutdowns have become a familiar tactic for Russian authorities, used to silence the voices and images that could expose the truth about the chaos of war. As reports of discontent trickled in, questions arose: what actually transpired that fateful night, and what was Russia so desperate to hide from the world? Andrew Kovalenko, head of Ukraine's Counter-Disinformation Center, pointed to the escalating situation, suggesting major damage had been inflicted on Tuman's refinery. Eyewitnesses and emerging evidence hinted at a narrative vastly different from the one Russia was propagating. Was the supposed birthday surprise actually a devastating blow to the very heart of Russia's energy infrastructure? But as attention turned to Tuman, the drama didn't end there. Simultaneously, another onslaught of over 200 drones targeted various sites across Russia, with authorities scrambling to ward off the attacks. Claims of downed drones filled Russian communications, yet the confusion only deepened, revealing the uncertain grip on the truth within the chaos. In a surprising twist, Russian officials announced an attempt by drones to strike critical infrastructures, contradicting their earlier statements of successful intercepts. The reality of war, marked by shifting narratives and the fog of misinformation, obscured the true consequences of Ukraine's relentless efforts. As the sun set on this chaotic day, one fact stood clear: the battlefield had extended far beyond conventional lines, shaping narratives and long-term strategies amidst ongoing strife. With uncertainty in the air and stakes at their highest, how would this escalation further reshape the war, and what secret truths lay buried beneath the surface of the unfolding events? In our last segment, we explored the crippling chaos of Russia's new conscription tactics. Detention centers snatch men right off the streets, turning an old dodge into a bloody trap. Human rights advocate Ivan Shevelev warned that what once let people hide now crushes their lives without mercy. The fear, the panic, it's all designed to break men down. What if I told you this savage chaos isn't just trapping civilians, it's fraying the edges of Russia's own military, driving soldiers to desperate acts that scream their terror? Imagine the acrid smoke rising as troops torch their own vehicles to escape the slaughter. Can an army built on brutality ever hold together when its men would rather burn their rides than face the grind? The stench of scorched metal lingers in the air, a bitter reminder of shattered loyalty. Pavement scorched underfoot from these fires, the crackle of flames devouring canvas and steel, all to avoid the mouth of Putin's raging meat grinder. This isn't just dodging death anymore. It's a savage will chewing up souls, no escape in sight. Feel the cold chill of cinderblock walls in centers like Krasnodar? Hear the muffled cries of men crammed into filthy pens? That's the mirror of a deeper rot, the brutality pushing Russia's soldiers to vanish, AWOL and gone. Deserters rot in those hellish holes, chained in grime and neglect. But even the loyal ones taste this poison first: bruises from beatings, hunger gnawing at their guts, commanders' fists swinging like weapons. The touch of rough rope binding wrists, the sour reek of sweat and waste. It's not training, it's a preview of the horrors ahead. Take Russia's infamous human wave assaults. Wave after wave hurled at Ukrainian lines, flesh and blood as cannon fodder. Soldiers march knowing they're just numbers on Putin's board. Their lives wasted to mark firing points, bodies left strewn like broken dolls. Flesh tearing under gunfire, the metallic tang of blood-soaking mud. How does that feel, being disposable? This heartless tactic has piled up nearly 1.12 million casualties since the invasion began. That's the kind of savagery that fuels desertion. Why risk everything when your leader treats you as trash? Signs of this desperation erupt on the battlefield itself. Back in April, United 24 media uncovered a shocking event in Ukraine's Kherson region. Ukrainian partisans spotted Russian troops firebombing their own vehicles. The roar of engines igniting, billows of choking smoke, all to dodge orders and devastating losses from above. A Ukrainian anchor broke it down. Brutal commands from superiors drive men to this madness. It's the very cruelty we just peeled back, boiling over into self-sabotage. Yet the twist hits hard. If Russia mocks its deserters, imagine the humiliation of soldiers torching tanks to flee. Does this undermine Putin's empire faster than any frontline charge? And now, as we gaze into the abyss, if Russia hunts for why up to 70,000 soldiers might desert by 2025, look no further than this cycle of brutality. The question hangs, when will the next explosion of defiance shatter the silence, exposing cracks in the Kremlin's facade? Stay tuned. Because these whispers of rebellion could ignite something far bigger. In the heat of conflict, loyalty can be a double-edged sword, particularly for those in the ranks of the Russian military. A recent exposé by Medusa on October 8 sheds light on the struggles and motivations of soldiers facing extensive sacrifices for a cause many perceive to be hollow. The pressures to conform and serve under harsh leadership have resulted in a far-reaching crisis, one that could see as many as 70,000 soldiers abandon their posts by the end of 2025. Imagine a soldier, grappling with the harsh realities of warfare, burdened by the overwhelming notion that his sacrifices go unnoticed. Medusa's report unveils stories of soldiers sentenced for desertion. Often, these individuals claim familial obligations as their reason to flee. Picture a soldier's heart sinking as he learns a loved one is in grave condition, only to find his pleas for leave met with cold indifference. This stark contrast highlights the compassion that many Western militaries extend to their members, where attending a family member's funeral is seen as a basic right. But for the soldiers on the front lines in Ukraine, the grim reality is far different, an atmosphere bursting with desperation and a deep sense of abandonment. The plight of Sergei Guskov exemplifies this cruel disregard. A father from the Stavropol region, Guskov was thrust into the conflict in April 2024, following a conviction for inflicting bodily harm. By July, he had vanished from the battlefield, choosing survival over servitude. In his courtroom declaration, he expressed the urgency of self-preservation, revealing that poor organization meant he had been sent into battle with scarcely any ammunition. This account encapsulates the broader picture of the Russian military's approach, a cold calculation where soldiers are seen as expendable rather than valued protectors. The rumbles of discontent grow louder, and deep within the war's chaos, the cries of human hearts are begging for recognition and understanding. As Guskov's narrative unfolds, it begs the question, how many more will find themselves at such crossroads, torn between duty and the instinct to survive? The steely grasp of leadership continues to tighten, but the spirit of those on the ground is far from broken. Unexpectedly, could these struggles pave the way for a broader awakening among the ranks? On October 7, a significant day echoed through the Kremlin, a day of celebration. Vladimir Putin was turning 73, and the grand halls were alive with the spirit of festivity. But little did he know, a shocking surprise awaited him from an unexpected place, Ukraine. This year, the birthday cake wouldn't be the only thing to leave a mark. Ukraine unleashed a flurry of devastating long-range drone strikes, marking the occasion with a monumental display of defiance. As the candle flames flickered, Ukrainian drones soared over 2,000 kilometers into the heart of Russia, targeting the city of Tuman, scrutinized as a strategic location. Could this be the start of a new chapter in the chess game between these two nations? With this audacious strike, Ukraine hoped to disrupt Putin's celebrations in a way he never anticipated. Just years prior, Ukraine lacked the arsenal to accomplish such a feat, but now the tides had turned. Reports flowed in of an attack on Tuman's oil refinery, critical for fueling Russia's ongoing military operations. While the local authorities claimed that Russian air defense neutralized the threats with military precision, whispers of explosions echoed through the streets. Residents startled by loud booms questioned the official narrative. Was the refinery truly safe, or had something gone wrong? Simultaneously, rumors circulated about internet outages in the area, suggesting a cover-up rather than a mere coincidence. Were the authorities deliberately silencing the truth to prevent the sharing of shocking images on social media? As the night unfolded, it became clear that the official story and the accounts of the townsfolk were at odds. The Ukrainian response to the Kremlin's anniversary wasn't limited to Tuman. Multiple drone strikes occurred across the country, showcasing Ukraine's relentless efforts. And yet, Russia's defense minister insisted that most drones were met with resistance, claiming no significant damage had been done. But could this truly be the case, or was it a desperate attempt to save face in the face of a mounting crisis? One man, Andrew Kovalenko, the head of Ukraine's counter-disinformation center, claimed that matters had indeed worsened for Tuman's refinery. Was this an indication that Ukraine had managed to strike a blow that would ripple through the Russian war machine? Additional images circulated, purportedly showing the aftermath of an explosion, further muddying the waters of truth. As the dust settled, the conflict evolved from one birthday surprise to a broader narrative of struggle and resilience. The bureaucratic interviews and propaganda were crafting a different reality, one where each party sought to twist the facts to suit its narrative. With escalating tension and a looming war, could this be a turning point for either nation? As both sides rallied their strengths, a chilling question remained: how would the world perceive these unfolding events, and what lingering effects would they have on the war? In the days to follow, the stakes would only rise. Would Ukraine's defiance mark the shift it desired, or would it be met with more severe retribution from Russia? The answers were still veiled in uncertainty, waiting to be revealed as the war raged on. On October 7, a day marked by celebration for one prominent figure, Vladimir Putin, took a dramatic turn. As he blew out the candles on his birthday cake, blissfully surrounded by his inner circle, Ukraine prepared a monstrous surprise for the man who had long ignored their sovereignty. On this fateful day, the Ukrainian military unleashed a storm of drones, launching an unprecedented attack that drilled a staggering 2,000 kilometers into Russian territory. What could be a more spectacular gift for a dictator than a surprise explosive attack right on his home turf? Reports emerged of mass drone strikes that targeted Tuman, a city far removed from the Ukrainian border. Imagine the shock on Putin's face. He had never fathomed that Ukraine could reach such depths. Once, they lacked even the means for such a feat, but now they have evolved to launch deadly payloads directly at Russian assets. The main target? An oil refinery capable of processing millions of tons of crude oil, a key source of fuel for Russia's military machinery. As sirens wailed, the Tuman local government assured the public that Ukraine's drones had been intercepted. They claimed that drone debris was neutralized before any damage could occur. Yet, could this be the whole story? Eyewitness accounts revealed a conflicting narrative, with locals swearing they heard twin explosions near the very refinery supposed to be cloaked in security. If no real threat was presented, why did these sounds pierce the air like ghosts of chaos? Adding fuel to the fire, communication breakdowns plagued Tuman right after the onslaught. A common tactic employed by Russia to stifle information flow and keep its people in the dark. If Ukrainians managed a successful strike, wouldn't the Kremlin rush to showcase its defensive prowess? Instead, they seemed eager to cover up the truth. Why would the government fabricate a narrative of normalcy when the echoes of conflict resonated so loudly? Meanwhile, Andrew Kovalenko, the head of Ukraine's counter-disinformation center, suggested that all was not well in Tuman. When he proclaimed that the refinery's circumstances had worsened, it hinted that Ukraine may have achieved its dark birthday surprise more effectively than Russia would like us all to believe. Picture this twist: the Excellent Over Plus Telegram channel shared images purportedly showcasing the aftermath of an explosion at the Tuman refinery, whispering of destruction. Could it be that amid this propaganda and counter-narratives, one drone actually struck its mark? As night fell, the intensity of the strikes didn't wane. Reports indicated that over 200 drones were launched, targeting multiple regions and sowing confusion within Russia's defenses. In Nizhny Novgorod, debris and damage were accounted for, yet the governor insisted, characteristically dismissive, that no significant harm came from the threats. But the specter of failure loomed. Ukraine had previously claimed success in similar strikes, raising questions about their military capabilities. On top of it all, a tense narrative emerged surrounding attacks near nuclear facilities. How could a country under siege present these operations as mere retaliation while appearing to hit strategic and sensitive targets? The danger around their nuclear power plants only stoked fears, but amid the chaos, was there an ulterior motive to frame Ukraine's efforts as terroristic? Now, as tensions unravel, the question remains: what truly transpired in Tuman, and will the illusions crafted by those in power hold against the truth? As the dust settles, the battle is far from over, and the story of October 7 unfolds with twists and revelations yet to surface. In a harrowing twist of fate within the depths of a faltering military, one Russian soldier, Alexander Gorin, reveals the grim reality of survival under brutal command. Rather than being offered a chance to regroup after a failed assault, his unit faced a terrifying strategy. Commanders positioned barrier troops behind them, ensuring escape was not an option.
They threatened to pick off any soldier who dared to flee, turning the battlefield into a site of execution, a grim reminder of negligent leadership. What would compel a soldier to stay in the face of such relentless cruelty? The very notion defies logic. This unsettling atmosphere of fear and systemic brutality within the Russian military serves as a chilling backdrop. In July, reports surfaced showing soldiers subjected to shocking punishments, including one tortured by being tied to a tree, exposed to the merciless elements of winter. Left without clothing and dignity, the agonizing scene highlights the dire consequences of seeking freedom in a regime that values obedience above life. As if the brutality weren't enough, intercepted communications in September exposed a sinister strategy. A soldier describes capturing a deserter near Mariupol, and what happens next is a chilling revelation. They intend to severely injure the soldier. Soon, you'll receive a soldier with broken legs, he tells his commanding officer. However, the horrifying twist doesn't end there. This soldier would not simply be left to recover but is to be dispatched to the front lines as mere bait, a body to lure Ukrainian forces. This shows an alarming level of dehumanization, where soldiers become expendable pawns in a desperate game of war. Further complicating matters, a new deterrent emerged on October 7. Commanders, in an attempt to tighten their grip on a restless troop, began seizing soldiers' bank cards. Without access to money, the risk of attempting to abandon the front grew exponentially. It's a cruel measure designed to ensure obedience. The only exit from the battlefield is now a higher risk of survival outside its confines. The soldier's plight and the moral decay of a system that condones such tactics cannot go unnoticed. What does this say about the future of an army held together by fear, brutality, and sheer desperation? Imagine the despair of soldiers trapped in a relentless war. Their commanders seizing bank cards, preventing any escape from the battlefield horrors. This brutality forces them into cannon fodder roles. Yet, amid this chaos, Ukraine fights back. And Russia's tactics reveal desperation. What if Putin's army crumbles from within? A shocking twist in his iron grip. Picture the chill of a winter night in the trenches. The acrid smell of gunpowder lingers. Soldiers huddle, feeling the rough bite of cold metal on their hands as they clutch hidden savings. But now, no way out. Their commander clutches bank cards like trophies. This bizarre trick? Almost genius in its cruelty. Soldiers can't flee without funds. It ramps up risk. Keeps them chained to the front. Desperate men. Whispers of rebellion. But obedience wins through fear. Is this lawless act tolerable? Partisan groups cry out. Troops shouldn't endure such tyranny. The commander smirks. Promises return after rotation. If no reports to superiors. Punishments unheard of. Brutality feeds brutality. With 70,000 deserters haunting Russia, their fix spirals deeper into madness. Instead of reform, more cruelty. Punishment breeds loyalty. Or silent resentment. Can Ukraine exploit this fracture? As explosions echo in the dark. In a twist of fate, Ukraine doesn't just face cannons, but turns to timeless warfare. Rockets scream. Shells thunder. Howitzers roar against Russian lines. No fancy tech needed. Just raw power. And Greece? Delivers a humiliating blow to Putin. A slap to his ego. Sending Ukraine the edge to shatter his forces. October 6. Weapons arrive. Not gifts. But a forced alliance. Greece arms Kiev through intermediaries. Embarrassing Russia one strike at a time. What hidden rage fuels this deal? The details tease. A narrative of revenge. Greece's ships arrive. Unloading crates that vibrate with promise. The hum of engines. The clink of metal. Soldiers grip new firepower. Hearts pounding. Can this arsenal turn the tide? While Putin suppresses his own, Ukraine gathers strength. Unexpected alliances. Humiliation on the horizon. Flashback, years ago. The sting of invasion scars hearts. Sweat beads on skin. Explosions rumble like distant thunder. Smoke chokes lungs.
Ukraine's pain birthed resolve. Now, with Greece's aid, that resolve ignites. Will these weapons annihilate Russian positions? The mystery deepens. Russia's defenses quake at the thought. Soldiers dream of escape. Cards returned? Or more tricks? As drones hum overhead, the war rages on, with Ukraine's vengeance just beginning. How far will this brutality escalate? Cliffhanger hangs. Alliances twist. Power shifts. And Putin's empire trembles. On October 6, 2023, a significant shift was brewing that would send ripples through the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Greece, in a bold move, announced it would be providing an array of weaponry to Ukraine, utilizing the Czech Republic as a middleman for this pivotal transfer. This is no mere act of charity, it's a calculated strategy designed to empower Ukraine's defenses against Russian aggression. But what exactly is Ukraine set to receive? Among the most noteworthy assets are the 620 or more M110A2 self-propelled howitzers, which, while not cutting-edge, still hold a considerable tactical advantage. The M110 artillery system has a storied history, having been integrated into the U.S. military as early as 1963. With a robust construction of solid steel, each unit requires a dedicated crew of 5 to 8 members, all working in unison from an armored cockpit to maximize efficiency in combat scenarios. The global proliferation of the M110 speaks to its reliability, adopted by numerous nations beyond the United States, including notable military powers like Germany, Israel, and Greece. This extensive reach ensures that there's an ample supply of these howitzers and the necessary ammunition available for Ukraine to harness. Ukraine has meticulously strategized its anticipated use of the incoming M110A2s. While one might envision the howitzers being deployed in rapid assaults, their true potential lies in a different tactic. Capable of engaging targets from an impressive distance of over 24 miles, or around 40 kilometers. These howitzers are well positioned to counteract Russian forces entrenched in occupied territory. The advantage lies not just in firepower but in the tactical flexibility these howitzers afford Ukraine as the conflict escalates. As the details of this weapon deal unfold, the question remains, will these aging artillery systems deliver the decisive edge Ukraine needs in its ongoing struggle against Russian forces? The stakes are high, and both sides are poised for an unpredictable confrontation ahead. As the world watches closely, every artillery round fired could alter the course of this tumultuous conflict. In the backdrop of this artillery transfer, a deeper intrigue begins to unfold around the implications of such military support. Would this energized firepower merely serve as another cog in the war machine, or could it become the critical game-changer that tips the balance? The narrative is still being written, leaving room for both triumph and tragedy in the days to come. On October 7, a momentous day for Vladimir Putin as he celebrates his 73rd birthday, unfolded dramatically with an unexpected twist. As festivities brewed in the Kremlin, an audacious surprise awaited the Russian leader from an unlikely source, Ukraine. For the second consecutive day, Ukraine unleashed a formidable wave of long-range drone strikes aimed squarely at Russia. Can you imagine the shock of a birthday present that sent ripples of panic in the heart of enemy territory? In a daring maneuver, Ukrainian drones flew over 2,000 kilometers deep into Russian soil, a feat unimaginable just a few years before. The primary target? The oil refinery in Tyumen, a city Putin probably believed was safe from Ukrainian retaliation when he initiated his invasion. Tyumen lies a staggering 2,000 kilometers, or about 1,240 miles, from Ukraine's borders. At this distance, it's almost unbelievable that Ukraine could hit such a distant location. While Ukraine reveled in the success of its attack, Russia's response claimed otherwise. Local officials insisted that their air defenses intercepted all drones, asserting that no damage occurred. Echoes of emergency services filled the air, hinting at a narrative of control. Yet, residents of Tyumen clung to a different story. Some reported hearing explosions near the refinery, explosions that contradicted the official government narrative that declared no explosions or fires had taken place. What really happened as Ukraine's drones soared over Tyumen? Could they have hit their mark despite the claims of success by Russian officials? Adding to the confusion, Tyumen's residents reported temporary mobile and internet outages following the drone strike, a classic Russian tactic to suppress information when pinned against the wall.
As connections vanished, a shroud of secrecy enveloped what might have been a pivotal moment in this escalating conflict.
Was Russia scrambling to keep the truth hidden? Could those drone strikes have really struck deeper than anyone dared admit? The tension didn't stop with Tuman.
Reports indicated drone activity across multiple regions of Russia on that fateful day, with over 200 drones launched.
The question lingers, did Ukraine manage to inflict damage elsewhere? Conflicting reports swirled, signaling that while some drones were shot down, others may have found their targets.
In the aftermath, the Russian narrative shifted, hinting at near misses involving critical infrastructure, including a nuclear facility.
Why would Russia amplify fears of attacks on nuclear plants unless they wanted to stir panic?
As these narratives collided, it became evident that the struggle for truth in these chaotic times was as fierce as the battle itself.
Now, as the dust settles, one is left to wonder, how successful were Ukraine's efforts on Putin's birthday? With each conflicting report, we inch closer to uncovering the reality, but the question remains, can we trust the narrative spun by a government desperate to maintain control? What are the true consequences of this bold strike against a seemingly untouchable target? The answers lie buried in the chaos of war, waiting to be unearthed. As we delve deeper, what new revelations might emerge about that explosive day?
On October 7, the air crackled with tension and surprise. For Vladimir Putin, it was a day of celebration, marking his 73rd birthday. But this year, the festivities took an unexpected turn.
As he prepared to cut his cake in the Kremlin, the skies above Russia darkened with a barrage of drones, none other than a surprise gift from Ukraine. Imagine the shock. A relentless drone assault, striking deep into Russian territory, thrusting the normally confident atmosphere into one of uncertainty and dread.
As reported by the Kyiv Post, Ukraine's drones penetrated 2,000 kilometers inland, aiming for the city of Tuman, a target Putin would never have thought possible when he initiated the invasion. Just a few years ago, Ukraine lacked the means to launch such an assault, yet the tide of capabilities has shifted dramatically. Now, armed with long-range drones, Ukraine seized this moment, a gesture of defiance perfectly timed for the milestone occasion.
The primary target, an oil refinery in Tuman.
This facility was crucial, processing up to 9 million tons of crude oil annually, fueling not only the war effort but also the very machinery of Russia's economy.
As birthday candles flickered in the Kremlin, Ukraine's drones flew, their engines roaring low as they approached their target, each one a symbol of resistance and a risky birthday surprise for the Russian leader. But was Putin's birthday celebration to remain unscathed?
According to Russian officials, no drones made it through 2 months' defenses.
Claiming success, announcements flooded social media, stating air defenses had neutralized the threat. Emergency vehicles raced to the scene, ready to combat any damage. Yet, the story didn't end there. Suspicion lurked beneath the surface.
Residents reported hearing explosions, and in a twist of fate, the very messaging from Russian authorities contradicted these claims. No explosions, no damage, they insisted.
Yet, how could the locals' accounts align with such statements?
Oddly enough, internet connections in Tuman faltered just after the event, typical of Russia's strategy to silence accounts in sensitive areas.
Was something catastrophic hidden beneath the curtain of misinformation? As whispers of a potential strike on the oil refinery circulated, a figure emerged from Ukraine's counter-disinformation center, Andrew Kovalenko.
He implied that trouble had indeed befallen Tuman's facility, though it remained unconfirmed. Meanwhile, images circulated online, suggesting consequences from the purported attack.
Did Ukraine manage to hit its mark after all?
This attack was not an isolated incident. Over 200 drones launched from Ukraine that day, striking multiple locations, each aimed at crippling Russian operations. Could a secondary attack on a critical explosives factory in Zinsk be the precursor to this ongoing battle for dominance? With Ukrainian forces adapting Soviet-era aircraft to utilize new rocket technology, the scene was set for a direct confrontation. The surprises kept unfurling. The fallout from these drone strikes revealed much more than tactical moves. They illustrated the sharpened edge of warfare in the modern era.
As the dust settled, one question remained: what would the repercussions of this birthday surprise be in the weeks to come? Would it escalate tension or spark a newfound resolve on both sides?
The stakes are high, and the outcome uncertain, but the air is thick with anticipation and potential violence. Once again, Ukraine is making significant strides in its military capabilities with the support of international allies. After depleting an entire stock of 6,000 rockets gifted by the United States, they have proven the effectiveness of these munitions in their ongoing conflict. The addition of thousands more rockets from Greece enhances their inventory, setting the stage for an upward shift in their aerial operations, especially as they anticipate the arrival of advanced fighters like the F-16s and Mirage 2000s in 2025. But here's where it gets interesting: Greece is not giving these military supplies directly to Ukraine. Instead, they are transferring them to a nation tasked with facilitating this crucial support. Enter the Czech Republic, a key player in this strategic maneuver. It appears that this collaboration began in September when Greece's military decided to categorize the howitzers and associated munitions as non-essential equipment. This reclassification frees up valuable resources while maintaining operational readiness in a complex environment. Could this shift be a game-changer in the ongoing conflict? With the Czech Republic taking the lead on these logistics, will Ukraine's military efforts gain the momentum they desperately need? As the drums of war thunder on, only time will tell how these developments unfold. The situation remains explosive, with both triumphs and challenges on the horizon.